All right, Bengals fans, welcome to our roaring reaction post game edition, post game. A couple days after the events on Thursday night against the Ravens. I'm your host Brandon Harriet with your host Tim Lyons.
Morning.
Saturday coming to you, so the Chase and Justin could not make it. How you doing out there? The West Coast, Tim, up bright and early. How's it going out there?
West Coast? No, I'm doing good, bro. It's cold, a little chilly out this morning. I was outside with the chickens this morning, freezing my butt off. But it's Saturday. I'm awake. It's 8:10 in the morning over here. So yeah, I'm still knocking off the cobwebs.
Yeah, 11 o'clock. We're getting this in before college football gets started over here at noon on the correct coast, the right coast, if you would. But yeah, let's start unpacking this Bengals game. I mean, obviously, news of the game. Everybody got injured. If I placed a bet on you, you got hurt in this game. I had Mark Andrews over 54.5 yards.
Hurt.
And he had 23 yards on the first possession as he got hurt and is now out for the remainder of the season. I think Logan Wilson's unfairly taken some heat on this for the quote-unquote hip drop tackle. I mean, when he flanks off in coverage to his right, the guy catches it over the middle. He's coming back at an angle from the guy's back hip pocket, trying to prevent someone who's inside a 10-yard line going towards the end zone. Mm-hmm. You can't tackle him forward in that situation. You can't push him. I don't know what the appropriate thing is. Maybe grabbing him and rolling to the other side. Even that, you're going to give up another yard or two. And when you're inside the 10 there, it's everything you can to get them down without them going forward. I don't think Logan Wilson's a dirty player. I don't think he did anything intentional there, was dirty at all. What are your take on that?
These people, I think they want it to be flag football out there. I know Jermaine Pratt said on Twitter the other day, what else was Logan Wilson supposed to do? It was a tackle. It happens. Football is going to football, like Brandon Harriet likes to say.
Boy, football really football Thursday, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, Logan Wilson is not a dirty player. He is not a dirty player. He was making the tackles. It's not like he was, intentionally trying to hurt Mark Andrews or Lamar Jackson or even OBJ. I know all these people are out here, assuming that Logan Wilson's a dirty player. Logan Wilson's not a dirty player. I might be biased because I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, but that was not dirty. Football's going to football. He had no other choice. There was no flag on his belt for him to pull, so he couldn't make the tackle that way. It was either you make the tackle or you let him get a touchdown. If you guys don't like the tackling process, then let's just cancel football. I guess that's what we need to do.
I don't remember a time in Logan Wilson's career, 4+ years now, where he had a late hit. I don't remember him ever being accused of being dirty. I don't recall him ever losing his cool on the field. Nope. He is a stalwart middle linebacker for this team, who does yeoman work and seems to be a great guy off the field as well. Great in the community. I got nothing but good things to say about Logan Wilson. Keep going out there, running sideline to sideline, making tackles, my guy. Don't even worry a thing about what they're saying in Baltimore. How do you relegate that tackle? He grabs him around the waist, and you're talking about a pretty powerful guy for a quarterback, right? Or for a tight end, excuse me. He also was involved in a tackle on Lamar on the sidelines where Lamar sprained his ankle. But you're talking about pretty powerful guy in that tight end. You grab him around the waist and you fall down the waist. What are you supposed to do? Let go at that point? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you play football without that tackle. It's just an odd. Don't wish it on anybody. I have Mark Andrews is a great tight end. That team does look different without him. Now I think that LBJ pickup in the offseason, where we all thought they overpaid for him, man, does that look good now to have somebody else out there be able to catch some passes, when with Andrews on the shelf for the rest of the season. So really changed the dynamic of that team, but not as much as the dynamic of our team has changed.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, Joe Burrow out for the season. All signs pointing to season-ending surgery on that list. Wrist to repair a torn ligament. Fell awkwardly on the tackle by Jadeveon Clowney. Had it pinned underneath a little bit. Said he heard it pop and throws a touchdown pass on a short out route to Joe Mixon. Everybody cheers and then realizes he's doubled over in pain. Yeah. And they're I mean, I'm rooting for Browning, but I'm changing my outlook for the, obviously for the rest of the remainder of the season. To me now, it's more about personnel evaluation and about what we're doing going forward with personnel, more so than I was asked. Mod asked me the question. For those of you who don't know, Cowboys fan does the DC for Life podcast here on the Fans First Sport Network. Also does the music you're listening to in the background. Mod asked me, hey, do you think the Bengals still have a chance to make the playoffs? And I was like, playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? Man, I don't think we have a chance to go 500 now. That's my gut reaction. I don't see how it can happen with Browning. From what I've seen from him in the preseason and here and there, I don't think he's that guy that's going to be able to do that for us. What's your take on the situation now and expectations going forward?
As soon as Joe Burrow went down, on the sidelines trying to throw the ball, I was devastated. This this kind of hit me harder than what it did when he messed up his knee, actually, because the 2020 season, I didn't have any expectations, that we were going to go to the Super Bowl or have a great season, whatever. I didn't have any expectations then. And of course, the last couple of years, Super Bowl, AFC Championship game. Then we come into this season, we had high hopes and high expectations for Cincinnati Bengals. And then Joe Burrow messes up his calf muscle, but he still played, and, we won, 1 or 2 games from that. And then he came back 100%. And the expectations was like, okay, we can do this. We can get back to the playoffs. But Thursday night, man, it was so I wasn't mad. I wasn't angry at all. I was just disappointed and I won't say disappointed. I was just like, it was like a knife to the heart when Joe, as soon as I seen him try to throw the ball and he went down to his knees, I know I texted the group and I said, he's done. He's done. I knew it. He was done. There was no way, if he, sprained his wrist or sprained his thumb or whatever, you don't get those reactions. And as soon as I seen that reaction, I knew he was done. Jake Browning wise, he's, he was pretty good when he was here in Washington. He was a Washington quarterback.
Yeah, good quarterback.
He was pretty good. But is he a starting NFL quarterback? I'm going to say no, but we do have others around him that can win games. And I'm not going to say the Bengals are going to, we could win some games. We could win 5 games. We could win 5 games. There's possibility. There's always, it's the NFL. They're all professionals. Do I see us making the playoffs now? There's a 1 in 1,000 chance that we make the playoffs. Yeah. But I am going to say this, and you might think I'm crazy, and listeners might think I'm crazy, but I actually want to see AJ McCarron out there. AJ McCarron, he's been in the league for many years. He's a veteran. He was drafted by the Cincinnati freaking Bengals, and he was an XFL. I know it was the XFL, but whatever. He was the MVP last year for XFL. He actually played really good in the XFL last season. I think the best bet would be to move McCarron in as a starter. Possibly might happen, later on, because he's been with us for what, 5 weeks now, 6 weeks. I don't know however long it's been.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like to see AJ McCarron come out there and see what he's got, see if he's still got it.
Well, if we don't get better pass blocking, you may get your wish by default.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that's what I realized on Thursday night. The Baltimore Ravens, they were playing a different defense when Joe was in there. But as soon as they saw that cat come out on the field, those rabid dogs came out on that field and were destroying them, because they knew, whoa, this isn't Joe Burrow. This is Jake Browning. We can just pass rush, and he might complete the pass 25% of the time. Who knows? And as we've seen it, he went 3 and out 3 times in a row, and I think he only had 68, 69 yards, but he didn't have any turnovers, so that was promising. There was no turnovers.
Yeah, the coach's Cliff Note segment we normally just kind of touch on quickly. I mean, Zach Taylor's done nothing but coach speak since the injury happened.
Yeah,
we know it's a sprain and to be evaluated. Now, sprains are, partial tears, so blah, blah, blah. And that's probably what he was hoping for, right?
Right.
Obviously, it's a full tear. Something's definitely more wrong than that, or at least a severe sprain to where the tear needs replaced or fixed. But I did get some stuff from Burrow, not the first initial press conference, but the second one he did
yesterday.
Yesterday he did a really good one, I thought, and he's very much compartmentalized. He understands that he plays in a violent sport. He understands that injuries are part of the game. I really like where his head is right now, as far as at least what he's given us in those interviews, where his mind is in his space. And one of the things I took away from it was he talked about Jake Browning and him being very similar, like-minded, even-keeled, get along really well. So that was interesting to hear. Something I wasn't in tune to or aware of.
Yeah.
So that's I think where I'm going silver lining with this. I don't expect Jake Browning to be the answer, a backup quarterback or whatever. But my silver lining is this. Maybe a light bulb will click on, because the game plan's got to be a little bit different. Maybe the running game and some of that stuff, and then keeping people on their heels or being honest with the running game mix. Because even in this game, with Burrow going down in the first half, still only 16 carries for Mixon. How that's not above 20 is wild to me. I know we were playing from behind, but it is what it is. I think you got to feed the man the ball a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I was asked on the AFC North Roundtable I do on the Homies podcast, the Steel Curtain Network. I was, Tate made the comment that we were still in the game, but the biggest issue to him, other than Burrow getting hurt, was that we gave up that touchdown before halftime. My take on this, very simple. When Burrow went out of the game and everybody could tell what was going on, the whole team became deflated.
Yep.
I mean, you can see the mannerisms completely different. I mean, it took a lot out of the sails. Yep. So hopefully they're able to regroup that a little bit. We've got some young players. We're going to see what they've got. Hopefully we get some more running and ball. You got your wish in a bad way, I think, Tim.
I know I preach run the damn ball every single episode, but it's we can't depend on even if Joe's healthy or whatever, we can't depend on throwing the football all the time. We gotta mix it up. You gotta mix it up. Most successful teams go out there, they win football games. They're rushing the ball for 25 attempts, which opens up the pass. Their quarterbacks, look at, for example, CJ Stroud and the Texans. Homeboy went out there and ran for over 150 yards. CJ Stroud, yeah. CJ Stroud threw for over 300 yards. A successful football game is going to open up with the run game. Look at the Steelers last week. Warren, ran out of his damn mind, and they won the football game. With this crutch that we have going on now, I don't understand how you can try to stick with the pass game and that game plan when you have Jake Browning or any other backup quarterback. We'll say if it's, the freaking Philadelphia Eagles or the Cowboys or whatever, if their starting quarterback goes down and you can run the football, they're still going to run the football to help open up the pass game. Just that little thing, as everybody knows, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm a huge run the ball guy. I love North and South. That is my bread and butter. I love seeing it. I love seeing them run the football more than I like seeing 60-yard passes. So yeah, I always preach run the football, and the Bengals just seem to, because at halftime, I believe Joe Mixon had like 48 yards or something like that, and was averaging like 4.5 yards a carry at halftime. Well, then, we were all talking, and we're like, oh, here comes your wish, Tim. You're going to be running the football. No, they ran the ball like, 5 or 6 more times after the half, and then that was it. I don't understand why Zach is insistent on abandoning the run. I don't understand it. And I know Joe Mixon, he's seasoned, and all these other fans are saying, oh, he's seasoned and he's, about to get injured and all this other stuff too. I'm tired of hearing all the hate from Bengals fans, from all other teams about the Bengals or about Joe Mixon or about Joe Burrow. And one other thing that I'm tired of hearing is every football game that I listen to, the announcers say, oh, the Bengals, their run game's not that good. Do you watch Bengals football? It's not the fact that our run game's not any good. It's the fact that Zach abandons the run game.
Yeah, I mean, quickly too. He abandons the run game, and my thing is this: our RPOs are not. They're PROs. They're pass run options. We're passing that ball first, even when we're faking that out of the shotgun. I thought we were more effective over the past few weeks with the snaps where we go under center and running the ball out of under center, and then play action pass. And I, unlike you, I'm a big fan of the 64-yard bomb. That's my game. I love that. Yeah. But I'm not blind to the fact, especially when you're having blocking issues in pass blocking, running that ball is crucial to keeping the defense honest and not letting that front seven pin their ears back and come after your quarterback.
Yep.
Having a consistent threat of a run game. It doesn't have to be you don't have to tote the rock 35 times, right?
Right.
But you have to run the ball 20 to 25 times to keep that defense, to stay on schedule and keep that defense with their heels dug in a little bit rather than up on their toes. And I think we need to see that. It's going to be harder now with Jake Browning because they're not going to respect him as much until, we make it. We make them do that. So a lot of uphill sledding.
And one thing I wanted to add is the continuous, saying that the Bengals have no run game is just bullshit. Excuse my French. because if you look at the 10 games that we played, Joe Mixon was averaging at least 4.3, 4.2, 4.5 yards a carry at halftime. If we would have continued to do that throughout these games, Joe Mixon right now would be easily over 1,000 yards rushing right now. Easily.
Yeah, and normally you see the teams that run the ball consistently throughout the game. That fourth quarter, you see a spike in average because you're starting to tire and wear down that defense a little bit. Yep. We never get to that situation. When you're running the ball 11 times, 16 times, 13 times, that's not going to take a toll on the defense and wear them down. You got to get over that 20 mark in order to have that physicality forced on your team. Listen,
right?
For those of you watching on YouTube, you see what I'm wearing right now. This team, my college team, University of Michigan football, played the number 1 rushing defense in the country last week and ran the ball 32 straight times to close out the game, with a guy going into the game. They had a quarterback that was in the top 3 odds to win the Heisman Trophy, according to DraftKings. And he was 7 for 8 passing at that time with no interceptions, no turnovers, no nothing. And they said, You know what? Watch this. So I don't want the Bengals to go that far with it, but for crying out loud, man, let's even that spread out. Like I've said before, being balanced for this team isn't 50-50. 60-40? Yeah, somewhere close to that would be great. You know what I mean? Pass the ball 60 to 65% of the time. Run the ball 40 to 35 to 40, and I think you're good. I think once you see, 40 plus passes to 15 runs, you get close to that 75-25. We don't want that. Let's get closer to 60.
Yeah.
So let's take a quick break, pay some bills. For those of you on YouTube watching this, it'll just be a few seconds. For those of you Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcasts, now's the perfect time to go over there, hit that like, subscribe, thumbs up, anything you got to do real quick. Help support us. We appreciate you. The more people we reach, the more people we're able to, more resources we get, and we do more fun things on this show. Some of those things I'm sure you've seen, but we want to start doing some giveaways too. So help us out, and we'll be right back after these messages. All right, welcome back to the Roaring Reactions on Running Through the Jungle with your host, Tim Lyons, and I'm Brandon Harriet. We touched on the devastating news of Joe Burrow being out, what we need to do a little bit, why we didn't run the ball, and a little bit about the Ravens recap. But reluctantly, we're going to have to do the offensive and defensive game balls. You had to get the shovel out for this one. Got to dig a little bit to figure out who we're giving these game balls to. But we had to, normally we just secretly go off and pick our offensive and defensive game balls, and then we just go around round table. And this one took a little bit of talking about. Had, what did you see? I'm gonna admit, man, at halftime, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna nod out on this one. I'm gonna rewatch some of this. So I got to watch most of the second half on a replay on NFL Network because I did not make it till the final whistle blew Thursday night. I'm gonna promise you that. Tim, where are you going with your offensive game ball? Why?
It's obvious. I'm going with Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had 16 carries for 69 yards, averaged 4.3 yards a carry. He had 5 receptions for 31 yards. He had 100 yards total offense with a touchdown. Joe Mixon.
A couple of those catches were not easy either.
No,
He had a couple shoelace catches. So,
yep.
Yeah, I agree with you. Joe Mixon's there. I will say 4 catches, almost 50 yards. I'll give an honorable mention to Tanner Hudson just because what he's done over the past couple weeks is he's been elevated to the team. And going forward, I think you're going to see a lot more 12 personnel out of this team. I expect T. Higgins, if he got a hangnail, he's probably not going to play until he has a contract. I don't blame him at this point in time.
Yeah.
So that was I'm also here with Joe Mixon. If he keeps running hard, keeps over that four yards a tote, I expect him to tote the rock, like I said, 20, 25 times a game.
Yeah.
Defense. Not the best game on our defensive side of the ball. Like you said, air went out quick when Joe got hurt. But who do you got for your defensive game ball?
So my game ball prediction last week was Mike Hilton. Yeah, Mike Hilton ended up with 5 tackles, a sack, and a tackle for a loss. He played a good game,
Yeah,
but
good game.
that's not my game ball. Just a little FYI. My game ball goes to Jordan Battle, 11 tackles. He played. It was nice to see him. Actually, it was really nice to see him out there filling in those shoes at safety. Jordan Battle, definitely my game ball.
I agree with you. Listen, 11 tackles is great.
Yep.
Too many you don't want your safety to have 11, but he's always around the ball. He's physical. He doesn't miss tackles as much as Nick Scott does. I think he's got a little bit of learning and developing as far as being in the right place all the time. But his instincts are good, and he gets to the ball quickly. I didn't think defensive back wise. Listen, we gave one up to OBJ where he was way too open. I think DJ Turner struggled at times in one-on-one coverage. He also had a PI called against him that seemed to be a little bit phantom to me. I wouldn't have called that. But all in all, I mean, pretty good game. Lamar Jackson had 248 yards passing with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions. But 37 yards and a touchdown of that was on a ball that Pratt broke up and just fell into Nelson Aguilar's lap as he was running across crossing pattern. He had no idea where the ball was until it was literally right in front of his face.
Didn't they call a penalty on him too, on Pratt, that same play?
I don't recall that, no.
Hold on, let me look at my notes. I'm sorry. Oh, you know what? I was so mad I deleted it. If I remember correctly, there was a flag called on that play as well, but I don't remember if it was a illegal hands to the face or something too. So regardless if he would have called it or not, they still would have got 15 yards.
Illegal hands to the face was Cam Taylor-Britt. I didn't know. I thought it was on the other touchdown. It could have been this one, though.
He was on that one too. Yeah.
But 37 yards. So, if you take a lucky play out, he had 211 and 1 touchdown. That's pretty good against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Especially, with what we were facing later in the game. So I like the way it looks. I like the way Jordan Battle looks. And like I said, going forward, this is going to be a whole bunch of evaluating where we're at young talent-wise and what we need to do going forward. Low-key, one of the things, and I know Bengals fans are not going to like to hear me say this, but one of the things that hurts worse about the timing of this injury with Joe Burrow is we were in must-win situations, A, and B, if this happens 3 weeks ago, it's before the trade deadline. So we got a couple of guys, veterans here, guys that are on their last year of their contract.
Could have been traded.
With the way that we need to develop this team going forward with Joe Burrow getting the bag, with Jamar Chase going to get a bag, and a couple other guys going to be fill in with some pretty good contracts. Would we have dealt T. Higgins? Maybe. Could we have got a first round, a late first rounder from a team that needed to get over the hump? Or could we have gotten an early second rounder for a developing team? Yeah, probably could have got like a 2 and a 4 or 2 and a 5. I would think. Could we have gotten a third or fourth for a Cheeto, or for, God, I hate to even mention DJ Reader in there, but I mean, is that something we could have done? Because we've got listen, 2 extra draft picks from commensurate picks in the 3rd and the 5th next year, but we've got a lot of stuff we need to plug up, and it's all up the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Listen, I like Volson. I was expecting more out of him coming back this year. He put on 15 pounds of muscle. I thought he was going to play better. He is not. He's not been the answer there. What's right tackle look like for us after this year? Kappa run blocks well, doesn't pass block well. That's become an issue. So there's a lot of questions there. We're giving up too many yards in a run game. A lot of questions there. So I hate to look at it that way, but man, 3 weeks ago this would have made things a lot more interesting to me. But that's not the situation we're in. You gotta play the cards you're dealt. So it's going to be a lot of evaluating. I want to see some of these younger guys rotate in. I want to see, we talked about rather would see Miles Murphy and some of these pieces, Hubbard possibly rotate in the inside. I want to see, try that out. Like, let's start playing with some chips and see what we have and where we might be able to mix things up and what we've got going forward. I think DJ Turner is going to be out there a lot more. I think Battle's going to be out there a lot more. I think you're going to see Hudson out there a lot more. I think you're going to see Charlie Jones come back and play quite a bit more, maybe even Yoshi.
We'll see some Chase Brown out there too.
Yeah, coming back from the injury. Would like to see what we got there a little bit. I think they may be more apt too to play those guys on him and Travion more on maybe even Chris Evans, maybe even Captain America, playing those guys on third down that you're not 100% sure of on blocking. It's a lot easier when the franchise isn't standing right behind them.
Yeah.
So maybe we see a little bit more. Because we got to find out what we have, because we got to address what we don't have in the off season. So that's my take on it. What are you looking forward to most, finding out about our team as we go forward?
Just like you said, see what Yoshi and Charlie Jones can do out there a little bit more. We have already seen what Turner and CTB and we're DJ Ivy. I'd like to see some DJ Ivy out there. I haven't seen him at all this year. We did see Murphy out there on Thursday Night Football against the Ravens. He was in some plays. He was putting some pressure on Lamar Jackson. I know there was one play that they ran Lamar Jackson back like 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and Lamar was able to throw the ball away before Murphy was able to sack him. So, we'll be able to see that. Like I've been saying all year, I've been looking forward to seeing what Chase Brown, can do. Unfortunately he had this, he's on the IR right now, but I like to see what he can do. I like to see what AJ McCarron has still in the tank. I want to see what he has in the tank.
On Chase Brown, did they activate his 21 days?
I don't know. Honestly, I haven't even looked. I know he was on the IR, but I don't know if they activated him yet or not.
For those of you that don't know at home, they activate a 21-day reinstatement. So, at that point in time, you can take them off of IR any point in time for the next 21 days.
Yeah.
So they activate them so that they basically can have one extra person at practice while they're evaluating whether this player is ready to go back in or not. So it's kind of a good thing, to have them out there practicing without sending somebody back to the practice squad or cutting somebody off of the practice squad.
Yeah. So, but that's what I would like to. My concerns are as much as the same as yours. I want to. I don't think we're gonna tank the season. Because that's not the Bengals way. I don't see. Because I know I was listening to Mixon's video yesterday from him, and he's like, I'm a team captain, and we're gonna go out there and we're gonna play ball and we're gonna do what we can do, and he's real positive, and I hope that the locker room stays positive even with Joe Burrow out. Well, I'm not going to give up on this team. I want to stay. When I saw Joe Burrow go down, I was like, season's done. We're done. But today, it's Saturday. Like I told my wife this morning, I said, one thing I want to say is I want to stay positive for the rest of the season. Even though our star quarterback is out for the season, but I still want to stay positive, because there's always hope for next year, or you never know, because Cincinnati Bengals, we like to ruin people's seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been a Bengals fan for a long time, and I've seen the Bengals, ruin people's playoff hopes, and that's what I want to see the rest of this year. Stop the hate. Don't hate against our team. There ain't no reason for it. And I know a lot of these teams, I know there's some Ravens fans or Ravens team players out there that we're all excited that Joe Burrow's hurt and praising and all that, and not cheering and being all excited. All I'm going to say is this: is AFC North, you're welcome that Joe Burrow's hurt, because now you guys have a chance to make it to the playoffs.
Well, first of all, the NFL and football in general is worse off when Joe Burrow's not playing. Yep. Period. End of story.
Yep.
I'm not giving up on a team. I don't ever think people should tank. I'm not that guy.
Nope.
I think you go out there and play your tail end off. But I'm also a little more realistic about what my expectations are. I don't expect us to be a playoff team now. But I do want to be real in evaluating these players.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be real about evaluating what we have, finding out who's got that grit and moxie that you want on the team.
Yep.
Doesn't roll over when things get tough.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And I'm going to be evaluating just like we do here every week. Players, coaches, play calling, like we're going to talk about it all. And I think we still need to see, even more so now, we're going to get a real gut check look at who's on an upward trajectory and who's on a downward trajectory. And I'm looking forward to that part of this season now, and getting Joe Burrow healthy. And for the love of God, if there's a football god out there, can we get my man one full season without appendectomy, without a calf strain and injury? Can we just get him one full season to see what he's got coming back?
Amen.
Hopefully this is an injury. We'll know more over the coming weeks, and we'll keep you in tune here. I'll run it through the jungle with what we know, what we've heard. I may be reaching out to I've got a couple friends of mine that are orthopedic surgeons, see if they know, once we know more about this injury, what's going on with that, and what that timeline looks like. Hopefully the timeline looks like he's 100% coming back into training camp next year, and we can get a full training camp and get if we can get where we're headed in a good direction this year as far as evaluating players, having some guys step up when they have to, seeing what this team's made out of, and then get that going into the draft where we can really hone in on what we need to sign in the offseason.
Yeah.
It could be an exciting time to get this team even farther elevated than what we were coming into this year. And this year we had expectations of winning the AFC and going to a Super Bowl. So, not all is lost. Not all is lost. It's terrible, but there's still, some things to evaluate in this season to make it kind of exciting for me to see what we have in certain places. So I'm not giving up. I'm not expecting us to make any noise in the playoffs, but I'm not giving up on what this team's going to do. And I mean, are we still like Jake Browning versus Kenny Pickett's an interesting game to me, man.
It's not a bad matchup,
It's an interesting game to me, so it is what it is.
Yeah, I've been joking around with Big G, and I said to him, Harrison Smith Jr. is going to become a Bengal now.
Well, and that's the other thing when you talk about tanking. I mean, we've got 5 wins already. We're not going to get a top 3, 4, 5 pick. You know what I mean? We're going to be in the middle of the pack regardless. So it's a mute point to me. Is that we're going to be in a draft situation more than likely. We're not going to be 13-win team. So we're going to be able to get a really nice offensive guard or defensive tackle, or we're going to be able to get a pretty good splash play in there for what we need for this team.
Yeah, I know, I don't want anybody to think that I'm like, oh, the Bengals are going to just do crap for the rest of the season. I'm hoping for a Estime draft. Estime comes to Cincinnati because he's a hell of a running back out of Notre Dame. If you guys are not familiar with him, he is they call him the little bus out of, after Jerome Bettis. So, and I'm not saying that we need to replace Mixon, but I'm just saying, just to prepare, we need Estime in our lineup.
It'll be interesting to see what happens, how everything plays out. So a lot of things to talk about, and we're going to be here gas bagging every week on Running Through the Jungle Network channel on the Fans First Sport Network. Sorry we missed Justin. That was partially my fault because of my work schedule and the way Thursday night fell, and the way I pretty much punted on depression and getting some sleep rather than watching the rest of that game and going on.
It was late, man. It was late. We can't expect anything else.
But yeah, we're going to have some pretty good stuff going on still. We're going to be digging into this team more and more every week. So true fans will be riding with us the whole time. We know that. We appreciate you guys. Like I said, like, subscribe, share with a friend. Come kick it with us every week. We got more and more going on here. So we appreciate you. Thank you for your support. And check us out next week as we are Road Through the Jungle and get our roaring reactions every weekend. They keep growing in numbers. We appreciate everybody checking us out.
Yes.
Thank you. Hoo-day.
Hoo-day.
Stay with our team. Till next time. Peace.